Welcome back, deep divers. Today we're going to get into some seriously fascinating stuff, shadow work.
Ooh, shadow work.
Yeah, have you ever heard of this? I hadn't really.
Yeah, I have.
Okay, so basically we're diving into like the hidden parts of ourselves, all that kind of, stuff that we don't like to talk about.
Yeah.
So we've got this article, it's called Shadow Work, Integrating the Hidden Self. And it goes deep into this whole concept of the shadow self based on, the ideas of Carl Jung.
Yeah.
And I think this is going to be really like a personal therapy session for all of us, just revealing how our shadows might be like secretly controlling our lives without us even knowing it.
Right. And what's so interesting about it is that it's not about becoming a saint.
Okay.
It's about realizing that everyone has a shadow side.
So no matter how much we try to like create that perfect Instagram,
Right.
life,
Yeah.
there's always this other side to us.
Absolutely. Lurking beneath the surface.
Okay, so how does this whole shadow thing work?
Well, Carl Jung, who is like the guy who really popularized the concept of the shadow self,
Yeah.
he used the analogy of an iceberg
Oh.
to describe it. So what we see above the water is our conscious self, right? That's just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
The much larger part, submerged beneath the water, is the unconscious. And that's where the shadow resides.
Oh.
It's like all those emotions and thoughts and impulses that we've kind of deemed unacceptable.
So like, is it bad?
Well, that's the thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's not inherently bad, right? It's just stuff that we've pushed down.
Okay.
And it could be anything, from anger to sadness to sexuality, any of these things that, we were maybe told as children that were unacceptable.
Yeah. Okay.
And so we kind of shove it down into the shadow.
Okay. The iceberg. Yeah. The iceberg analogy. I always like that. But is there another way to think of it? Sometimes I need like more than one picture
Sure, absolutely.
to really get.
Imagine like a garden. Right. You carefully tend to the flowers you want to see blossom, but underneath the soil are the roots.
Okay.
Right? Some of them are healthy and some of them are maybe a little bit tangled, a little bit messy.
Yeah.
The shadow is like those hidden roots, right?
Right.
So ignoring them doesn't make them go away.
Right. Yeah.
And in fact, neglecting them can lead to all sorts of problems in the garden.
That's really helpful. So it's like it's not bad. It's just part of us.
It's part of us.
And we have to like understand it to be healthy.
Exactly.
Right. Okay. So how is this shadow formed?
Well, it doesn't just appear overnight,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
It's formed over time, especially during childhood.
Oh, so we're gonna go way back.
Yeah, we
Okay.
got to unpack some baggage here.
Yeah.
Because think about it. As children, we learn to suppress parts of ourselves, to fit in, to please others, to avoid punishment.
So like that whole good girl thing, I was always told to be a good girl.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you create this persona, this kind of mask for the world to see while the shadow is kind of lurking in the background.
Gotcha.
And so that good girl persona that you developed might have come at the expense of hiding your true feelings.
Oh, that's deep. Okay.
And so, a key part of shadow work is uncovering those suppressed emotions
Okay. Okay.
and then understanding how they might be driving your behaviors.
Okay, so speaking of like secretly driving our behaviors, you mentioned this word projection.
Yes.
And that sounds like, psychology 101, like a defense mechanism.
It absolutely is, and it's surprisingly common.
Oh, really?
Projection is basically when we disown parts of ourselves by seeing them in other people.
Oh, interesting.
So, for example, it's much easier to judge someone for being lazy if you haven't really come to terms with your own fear of failure,
Oh, wow.
right? So you're projecting that onto someone else.
Okay, so like when I got mad at, my coworker the other day for being super competitive, could that have been my shadow?
So,
Coming out.
Yeah, it's definitely worth considering.
Okay.
Because projection often shows itself through these really strong reactions, especially negative reactions
Hmm.
that we have to other people.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's like you're looking in this funhouse mirror,
Yeah.
and the distorted image you're seeing is actually reflecting something back at you, but you don't recognize it
Oh, okay, I see.
as your own.
So how do we start recognizing it then? Like, how do we see it in our everyday lives?
I would say pay attention to your judgments,
Okay.
right? Because those gut reactions, especially the negative ones,
Yeah.
can be really valuable clues.
Oh, okay.
So, for instance, if you're constantly judging people for, say, being too emotional, it might be worth exploring your own relationship with vulnerability,
That's a good point. Okay, yeah.
right? So it's not that you're necessarily wrong for having that judgment, but it might be worth asking, where is that coming from?
Yeah, that makes sense. The article also mentions judging like artists
Yeah.
for being unrealistic,
Hmm.
or stay-at-home parents for being lazy. Could that be like my inner critic talking?
Absolutely.
Because, I'm afraid of not being successful enough, or
It's definitely a possibility.
just something.
Right. And again, it's about asking yourself, where did this judgment come from? Right?
Yeah.
What part of my personal experience or my belief system might be, fueling this judgment, and what you discover might surprise you.
That's so true. Wow, this is already making me like rethink how I judge people.
Yeah.
So, listeners, what judgments do you make
Yeah.
that might be coming from your shadow side? Think about that.
And be honest with yourself. It might not be comfortable, but, confronting these judgments is really the first step
Yeah.
in understanding your shadow's influence.
Okay, so we've got these shadows lurking behind these judgments that we're making.
Yeah.
But like, how do we actually move beyond just recognizing it
Right.
and actually integrate our shadow selves? Like, how does that even work?
Right. Well, it's not about eliminating the shadow.
Okay.
That's impossible and actually not even desirable.
Oh,
Because the shadow, it holds valuable parts of ourselves,
really?
even if they're a little messy or uncomfortable.
Okay.
It's more about befriending the shadow, learning to coexist with it, rather than trying to banish it completely.
So it's like making friends with the monster under the bed or something.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
Right. So integration is about acknowledging
Okay.
and accepting those shadow aspects and finding a way to actually incorporate them into our conscious selves.
So how do we actually do that? Like, does the article give us any like concrete
It does, yeah.
ways to go about this?
Yeah, and it starts by understanding that facing your shadow can be challenging.
Okay.
It can be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And the article actually warns that the predominant emotion that you might experience is humiliation.
Oh, humiliation. Why would we feel humiliated?
Well, think about it. You're confronting these parts of yourself that you spent years maybe
Yeah.
denying or suppressing. It's like shining a light on those dusty boxes in the attic that you've been avoiding.
Oh, yeah, that's a good analogy.
Right. So there's bound to be some discomfort, some like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that moments.
Yeah, like seeing those, embarrassing pictures of yourself as a kid.
Exactly.
Acting, yeah, I see.
Right. And it's like coming face to face with our own hypocrisy, or those moments when we haven't lived up to our own ideals.
Wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
But here's the thing, that feeling of humiliation, while it's unpleasant, it's actually a sign of progress.
Really?
It means you're peeling back the layers and getting closer to who you really are.
Okay, so it's a good thing, even though it's like
It's a good
a
thing.
really tough thing to go through.
Yeah, it's a necessary part of the process. Like, it's a sign that you're on the right track.
Okay, so how do we begin though? Like how do we actually start doing this shadow integration?
The article provides like a roadmap with several practical steps. And the first one is to really pay attention to your emotional reactions,
Okay.
especially the really intense ones. So instead of just like suppressing or judging those feelings, get curious about them.
Okay.
Right? Ask yourself, like, what is this anger or sadness or jealousy trying to tell me?
Okay.
What could be triggering it?
So it's about being more mindful of how we're feeling and like not just reacting
I see.
automatically,
Exactly right. Because your emotions, even the unpleasant ones, are like messengers.
Okay.
They're trying to tell you something important. And sometimes those messages are coming from your shadow.
That's powerful. That's really powerful. Okay. What's the next step then?
So step 2 kind of builds on what we were talking about with judgments.
Okay.
Take those judgments that you make about other people,
Mm-hmm.
the ones that really like push your buttons,
Right.
and ask yourself, where did I learn to judge this so harshly?
Okay.
Does this reflect like a value that was instilled in me during childhood?
Hmm.
Or is it possibly masking a deeper insecurity of my own?
And that's where that childhood exploration comes in,
Exactly.
right?
Because revisiting those memories can be really illuminating.
Yeah. Okay.
Try to remember those moments when you were told to suppress certain emotions or behaviors.
Okay.
So maybe you were shamed for expressing anger or told to, toughen up when you were hurt.
I was told I was too sensitive all the time, so I just like stopped showing my emotions.
Exactly.
And now I have trouble like setting boundaries and stuff. Could that be my shadow?
It's definitely worth exploring because shadow work is all about connecting those dots
Mm-hmm.
between our past experiences and our present behaviors.
Oh, wow.
So by understanding, the origins of our shadow, we can start to like reframe those old narratives and create these new, healthier patterns.
That's amazing. I like that a lot. So it's like uncovering a hidden blueprint of ourselves or
Yeah,
something.
exactly.
Wow. Okay. So how do we keep track of all these like revelations we're having? Like, are we supposed to just like remember it all?
Well, that's where journaling comes in.
Journaling. Okay.
The article emphasizes the power of journaling
Right. Okay.
as a tool for shadow work. So even just spending like 10 or 15 minutes a day
Okay.
writing about those recurring thoughts and behaviors and emotional patterns that you want to change.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be, grammatically correct.
Really?
Just let it flow.
I always thought journaling was like a little too,
Yeah.
touchy-feely for me.
Right.
But I'm kind of seeing the value now.
Absolutely.
Like having that direct line to your subconscious.
Exactly. It's like a way to capture those fleeting thoughts and insights before they disappear.
Okay, yeah. I'm on board with journaling now. So what's the last step in the article's plan?
Action.
Action, okay.
So the article suggests setting like small, achievable weekly goals that are related to shadow work. So it could be like exploring a specific suppressed emotion through writing or meditation, or even just discussing it with a trusted friend or therapist.
So it's not about like getting rid of the whole shadow at once.
Yeah.
It's about like taking it piece by piece.
Exactly. It's a gradual process of like befriending and understanding those shadow aspects one step at a time.
I like that. That sounds a lot less overwhelming.
Yes.
Like an exciting journey.
It is a journey.
Yeah.
Remember, there are rewards.
Oh, there are rewards. Okay.
To be reaped from this journey. So people who've, successfully integrated their shadow, they report all kinds of benefits.
Okay.
From like reduced burnout to increased creativity.
Ooh, that's my love language. Tell me more.
Well, for one, people often experience less burnout
Yeah.
and more fulfillment in their lives
Yeah.
because they're no longer pushing themselves in ways that are, draining their energy and passion.
Uh-huh.
Instead, they're more aligned with their authentic selves and pursuing activities that really bring them joy.
That's huge, especially, today when everyone's telling us to be more productive and,
Yeah,
achieve. So it's like an antidote to that.
absolutely. Shadow work allows you to live a fuller, richer life.
Okay.
Not necessarily a better life by, societal standards, but one with a wider range of emotions and experiences.
So it's about like embracing all of us, not just the parts that are like,
Exactly.
acceptable. Yeah.
Exactly. And that acceptance can lead to like renewed motivation and creativity.
Okay.
So instead of being driven by, guilt or insecurity, you can pursue activities that genuinely bring you joy and allow your unique talents to shine.
That sounds amazing. Like to really be aligned with your passions and not like have that self-doubt all the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, shadow work can restore a sense of hope and confidence.
Oh, wow.
So people who feel really stuck in life, they often like suppress hope as a way to protect themselves from disappointment.
That's sad.
Right. And shadow work can help you like reclaim that hope by making it safe to feel again,
Okay.
to dream again, and to embrace the possibilities that life offers.
Wow. Those are powerful benefits. So it's not just about like uncovering the bad stuff, right?
No,
it's about
it's about creating a more fulfilling, more authentic,
yeah.
and more joyful life.
I love that. That's really cool. It seems like we've like just touched the tip of the iceberg here.
We have. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah, so listeners, if you're feeling stuck, burned out, or you're just curious about like going deeper into your own mind, we really encourage you to try this shadow work.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to do it alone, right? Like there are resources out there.
Yes, there are.
There are communities, therapists,
Absolutely.
who can help you.
Yeah.
So this has been an awesome
It has.
deep dive
Yeah.
into shadow work. I mean, we've learned so much and got some like really practical tools to start integrating these hidden parts of ourselves.
Yes.
And I think as we wrap up, I'd like to leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Ooh. Okay. I like it.
Yeah, what do you got for them?
So as you move forward on this journey, ask yourself this. What is one small step, just one manageable step, that you can take this week to acknowledge your own shadow?
Oh, I like that. It
might be as simple as like noticing your emotional reactions or reflecting on a particularly strong judgment, or maybe even starting that journal that we talked about.
Right. So it's not about like making these huge changes overnight. It's about just taking those baby steps.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, I like that.
Right. And every step you take, no matter how small, it brings you closer to that wholeness and authenticity.
Wow. That's That's beautiful. That's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank you.
I love the marathon analogy. It just makes it seem a lot less scary. Yeah.
And remember, it's not about becoming perfect
Yeah.
or even fixing yourself.
Right.
It's really about embracing all parts of who you are, even the messy, uncomfortable parts.
Yeah.
Because those shadow aspects, they often hold hidden gifts and strengths that can enrich your life
Wow.
in ways that you might not expect.
I really like that it's not about criticizing yourself, it's about accepting yourself.
Exactly.
Which is so much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so as you continue on this journey of shadow work, just remember that you don't have to go it alone, right? Like there are so many resources, supportive communities, and therapists who specialize in this, stuff.
Yeah.
And this whole conversation has been like really insightful for me and empowering, and I feel like I want to keep exploring my own shadow now.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so as we wrap up our deep dive into shadow work, just remember that the path to wholeness really lies in embracing all of our experiences, the light and the shadow.
Both, the good and the bad, the light and the dark.
Yes, I love it. Thank you so much for talking with me today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on the deep dive.
Yes.
We hope you've gained some, good insights and tools
Absolutely.
to start or continue your own journey of self-discovery.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.
Okay, so we've established that our shadows can lurk behind those harsh judgments we make about others. But how do we move beyond simply recognizing these projections and actually start integrating our shadow selves?
Well, it's not about eliminating the shadow altogether. That's impossible. And even undesirable,
Oh, really? Why undesirable?
Well, because the shadow holds valuable parts of ourselves,
Okay.
even if they're a bit, messy or uncomfortable.
So it's more about like befriending the shadow,
Exactly.
learning to coexist with it rather than just trying to like banish it completely.
Exactly. Yeah. Integration is about acknowledging and accepting those shadow aspects and finding a way to incorporate them into our conscious selves,
Sounds like a tall order. Like how do we even begin to do that?
Well, the article does offer some practical guidance,
Okay.
but it starts by understanding that facing your shadow can be challenging. Okay. It can be uncomfortable.
Right.
And the article actually warns that the predominant emotion you might experience is humiliation.
Humiliation. Why would we feel humiliated?
Well, you're confronting these parts of yourself that you've spent years maybe denying or suppressing.
Yeah.
Right? It's like shining a light on those dusty boxes in the attic that you've been avoiding.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's bound to be some discomfort, some like, oh, I can't believe I did that moment.
Right. Yeah, like those embarrassing childhood photos or something.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like coming face to face with our own hypocrisy, or those moments when we haven't lived up to our own ideals.
Yeah. Right. That makes sense. That's a lot to deal with.
It is. But here's the thing. That feeling of humiliation, while it's unpleasant, it's actually a sign of progress.
Oh, okay.
It means you're peeling back those layers and getting closer to who you really are.
Okay, so it's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Even though it's tough.
It's a necessary part of the process.
Gotcha. So how do we actually begin this process then?
Well, the article provides a roadmap with several practical steps.
Okay.
The first one is to really pay attention to your emotional reactions, especially the intense ones.
Okay.
So instead of just suppressing or judging those feelings, get curious about them.
Okay.
Ask yourself, what is this anger, sadness, jealousy? What is this emotion trying to tell me?
Okay.
What might be triggering it?
So it's about being more mindful, I guess, of our emotions and not just like reacting all the time.
Exactly right. Because your emotions, even the unpleasant ones, they're like messengers.
Yeah.
They're trying to communicate something important.
Okay.
And sometimes those messages are coming from your shadow.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next step?
Step 2 kind of builds on what we were talking about with judgments.
Okay.
So take those judgments that you make about other people, the ones that really push your buttons,
Okay.
and ask yourself, where did I learn to judge this so harshly?
Okay.
Does this reflect a value that was instilled in me, during childhood maybe?
Okay.
Or is it possibly masking a deeper insecurity of my own?
And that's where the childhood exploration comes in.
Exactly. Revisiting those memories can be incredibly illuminating.
Yeah.
Try to remember those moments when you were told to suppress certain emotions or behaviors.
Yeah.
Maybe you were, you were shamed for expressing anger or told to toughen up when you were hurt.
Yeah, yeah, I can definitely relate to that.
Right. And shadow work is all about connecting those dots between our past experiences and our present behaviors.
Hmm.
So by understanding the origins of our shadow, we can start to reframe those old narratives and create new, healthier patterns.
That's amazing. It's like we're uncovering this hidden blueprint of
Oh,
ourselves.
exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so how do we keep track of all of this? Like all these insights and stuff, are we just supposed to like remember it all?
Well, that's where journaling comes
I
in.
hate journaling. Yeah.
The article really emphasizes the power of journaling as a tool for shadow work.
Okay.
So even just spending, 10, 15 minutes a day writing about those recurring thoughts, those behaviors, emotional patterns that you want to change.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct.
Right.
Just let it flow.
I always thought journaling was like a little too, I don't know, touchy-feely for me.
Right.
But I'm starting to see the value in it now. Like
Yeah.
having that direct line to your subconscious.
Exactly. It's a way to capture those fleeting thoughts and insights
Yeah.
before they disappear.
Yeah. I like that. Okay, I'm on board with the journaling. What's the last step then?
Action, taking action.
Action. Okay.
So the article suggests setting small, achievable weekly goals
Mm.
that are related to shadow work.
Okay.
So it could be exploring a specific suppressed emotion through writing or meditation,
Okay.
or even discussing it with, a trusted friend or therapist.
So it's not about like conquering the whole shadow at once. It's about
Sure.
taking these smaller steps.
It's a gradual process. Yeah, it's a gradual process of befriending and understanding those shadow aspects one step at a time.
I like that. That sounds a lot less overwhelming, like a journey, you know?
It is a journey. It absolutely is. And remember, there are rewards.
Oh, there are rewards.
There are rewards to be reaped from this journey.
Okay.
So people who've successfully integrated their shadow, they report experiencing all kinds of benefits,
Yeah.
from reduced burnout to increased creativity.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more about those benefits. That sounds right up my alley.
Well, for one, people often experience less burnout and more fulfillment in their lives
Yay.
because they're no longer, pushing themselves in ways that are draining their energy and passion.
Yep.
They're more aligned with their authentic selves
Yeah.
and pursuing activities that genuinely bring them joy.
That's huge, especially, in today's world where everyone's telling us to be productive and achieve.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is like an antidote to all that pressure.
Absolutely. Shadow work allows you to live a fuller, richer life.
Okay.
Not necessarily a better life by, society's standards,
Yeah. Yeah.
but one with a wider range of emotions and experiences.
So it's about embracing like all of us, not just the parts that are, acceptable or whatever.
Exactly, exactly. And that acceptance can lead to renewed motivation and creativity.
Okay.
Right. So instead of being driven by guilt or insecurity, you can pursue activities that genuinely bring you joy and allow your unique talents to shine.
That sounds amazing to like be so aligned with what you love
Mhm.
and not have that self-doubt.
Exactly. And finally, shadow work can restore a sense of hope and confidence.
Oh, wow.
People who feel really stuck in life, they often suppress hope
Right.
as a way to protect themselves from disappointment.
Right. Yeah.
And shadow work can help you reclaim that hope by making it safe to feel again, to dream again,
Okay.
to embrace those possibilities that life has to offer.
Wow, those are some really powerful benefits. So it's not just about like uncovering the dark stuff, right?
Yeah.
It's about creating a more fulfilling
Exactly.
and authentic and joyful life.
Exactly. It's like this beautiful paradox, right?
Yeah.
By facing our shadows, we actually step into the light of our true selves.
I love that's beautiful. It seems like we've like only just scratched the surface here.
We have. There's so much more to explore.
Yeah, so listeners, if you're feeling stuck, burned out, or just curious about, going deeper into your own psyche,
Yeah.
we really encourage you to embark on your own shadow work journey.
Absolutely.
And you don't have to do it alone, right? Like there are resources available, there are communities of support, there are therapists who specialize in shadow work.
Absolutely.
So this has been an incredible deep dive into the world of shadow work.
It had.
We've gained some really valuable insights and practical tools to start integrating those often hidden parts of ourselves.
Yes.
And as we wrap up this exploration, I'd like to leave you with a final thought-provoking question.
Oh, okay. I like it.
I'm ready. Lay it on
So
us.
as you move forward, ask yourself this.
Yep.
What one small step, just one manageable step, can you take this week to acknowledge your own shadow?
Okay.
It might be as simple as, just noticing your emotional reactions
Yeah.
or reflecting on a particularly strong judgment,
Okay.
or maybe even starting that journal that we talked about.
Right. Right. Yeah, those are all like really good simple things that anyone could do.
Exactly. And it's not about making these huge changes overnight. It's just about
Yeah.
taking those baby
Those
steps.
small consistent steps.
Exactly. It's a marathon, not a sprint, right?
Yeah.
And every step you take, no matter how small, it brings you closer to that wholeness and authenticity.
I love that visual. That's really, really beautiful. I love the marathon analogy. It's much less intimidating.
Yeah, and remember, it's not about becoming perfect
Yeah.
or even fixing yourself.
Right. Yeah.
It's really about embracing all parts of who you are, even the messy, uncomfortable parts.
Yeah.
Because those shadow aspects, they often hold hidden gifts and strengths that can enrich your life
Wow.
in ways that you might not even expect.
Yeah, I love that. It's not about self-criticism, it's about self-acceptance,
Exactly.
which is so much healthier.
It is. It absolutely is. And as you continue on this journey of shadow work, just remember that you don't have to go it alone,
Yeah.
right? There are so many resources out there, supportive communities and therapists who specialize in this work.
It's really heartening to know that there's that support out there for anyone who wants to do this work.
Yeah.
This has been, I mean, this whole conversation has been so insightful for me, so empowering.
Good. I'm glad.
Yeah, I feel like I want to keep exploring my own shadow now.
That's fantastic.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into shadow work, just remember that the path to wholeness really lies in embracing all of our experiences, the light and the shadow.
Exactly. Both the good and the bad, the light and the dark.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you so much for talking to me today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on the deep dive.
Yes. Thank you.
We hope you've gained some valuable insights and practical tools to start or continue your own journey of self-discovery. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.
Keep diving deep.